Right now, nonprofits in Wisconsin are speaking out after claims of ICE detaining people in Madison. We'll break down what we know at this time.
And later, we'll talk to local fans about the Brewers and Cubs series. It's coming your way starting tomorrow afternoon in Milwaukee, an I-94 rivalry renewed.
And it's a high school football Friday night across southern Wisconsin. How our local high school football fared. We're moments away from the final drive.
And that's all coming up on News 3 now at 10. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight at 10 with breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security confirming 7 people have been arrested in Madison by ICE in what was a targeted vehicle stop.
39-year-old Ismael Hernandez Padilla was one of those arrested after allegedly attacking a Madison woman last month who said she played dead until Hernandez stopped beating her. The arrest happened early Thursday morning. He is charged with strangulation and suffocation, battery, disorderly conduct, and bail jumping. Others involved in the arrests were charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and trespassing. National advocacy group Forward Latino hosted a news conference in Milwaukee this afternoon to address the detentions.
The executive director of Voces de la Frontera's Milwaukee chapter also says the 7 detained are construction workers. Madison police earlier confirmed ICE carried out immigration enforcement after being alerted by community partners. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says that Hernandez Padilla is from Honduras and told us, quote, under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face the consequences.
One person is dead and another airlifted to the hospital tonight after a crash with a dump truck in the town of Green Lake. About 10:45 this morning, the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office says that a loaded dump truck was going north on County Highway A near Miller Road when it hit a truck going east. The pickup truck driver was airlifted. The passenger died on the scene. The Green Lake County Sheriff's Office, the Wisconsin State Patrol, and the Green Lake Medical Examiner are now involved in the investigation.
Bond set at $1 million for the man accused of attacking a former coworker in a parking lot near Camp Randall Stadium back on September 20th. The victim died less than a week later. Keith Jones is now charged with first-degree intentional homicide in the death of Mark Tigelar. According to a criminal complaint, both men worked as security guards for Best Security. However, Jones was fired just 10 days before the incident for drinking on the job. The 2 men had also gotten into a fight back on September 6th. Jones' next court appearance scheduled for October 14th.
Well, we have had record-breaking temperatures on a fall day. It feels like the hottest part of summer right now.
I know. It feels like July 3rd instead of October 3rd. And we got more records in the forecast. Can you believe that? Saturday and possibly Sunday. Now, normally I don't do first weather up here at the desk, but we have something special planned at the very end. Let's take a look at our graphics here, though. That record high temperature that we had today was 87 degrees. The old record, 85. We shattered that, so that forecast was right on the money. 89 in the Wisconsin River Valley. In fact, in Sauk City, they got to 91 today, 88 in Janesville. We got more records ahead of us. Saturday's forecast is 88, the old record 87, and Sunday's record high temperature is 86, set back in 1922. If we break that, that will shatter a 100-year, over 100-year-old record. And we also have the crash in the temperatures. Here comes fall reality next week. And with that crash, we have a weather system that we'll track when I come back at the main wall over there to do weather in just a couple of minutes. But a special treat here coming from some old pictures. 1997, my family, that's my dad on the left, my sister Amory, and then that person in the middle, that's Gary Canalti, our friend Gary. And I'm interviewing Gary in 1997 for a career explorations course in 8th grade. I think we might have one other photo.
That's Alex.
That was 8th grade.
Look at him.
Look at that. And that's Gary showing me all the weather computers. This journey started, like 40 years ago, and Gary was one of my idols. So I was probably a bit nervous that day to interview Gary.
Look at your mouth is open.
Oh, yes, I didn't even know that.
You look in awe.
I'm in awe of one of my idols.
Sadly, I started at Channel 3 that year, too. I'm not kidding. I remember that old weather office.
I do, too, actually.
Yeah, Gary loved to teach people about weather, just like you do. That's one thing you do definitely
Thanks for
have
sharing.
in common. Alex, thank you.
Fun.
And speaking of Gary, by the way, he's in Sydney, Australia right now, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So he's been out of his Cubs jammies for a few hours now. The Brewers begin the division series with the Cubbies tomorrow after a first-round bye.
It's an exciting time. We asked some fans who will win and to give us something nice to say about that enemy team.
I'm a Cubs fan. I personally have hope that it's going to be the Cubs. I think the Brewers are the better team, but, you know, you got to believe, right?
Yeah, the Cubs are amazing. I'm lying. The Cubs are not amazing. I'm Brewers all day, man. All day.
I think probably the Brewers are going to take the first game, but I like the Cubs to win the series. The Cubs? I don't know, man. I guess the field's historic.
Heart, I'm pulling for the Cubs. I'm a lifelong Cubs fan, but Bob Uecker, who passed away last year, has been pulling some strings up there.
They got a good team. I just don't really like their fans. Like, there are a lot of teams that I don't like in the MLB. Their fans are just what I don't like about them. But I wish them the best, but I hope you lose.
Bob Uecker, we have to give it to him. He's a legend and he was a great broadcaster. So we got to give him that.
I like Milwaukee in 6, just like the old days with the Bucks.
I'm still a Cubs fan. I have to hang in there.
She is from Chicago.
I'm from there, but Packers, so don't hurt me.
Yeah, she doesn't like the Bears, so you got that going for you. All right, Alex has returned to have a complete look at the first one forecast after this scorching start to fall.
And as the Friday night lights dim, we bring you the scores and highlights from the area games in the final drive.
All right, folks, let's take a look at the rain chances that we have in the forecast. We've been talking about all this heat. Are we going to get a little bit of a break here with the heat? Well, yes. And in the transition, we're going to have some rain. Rain will help to cool us down to values temperature-wise that we're where they should be for this time of year. Let's track that front here. So a little bit different approach. We know the heat is coming. We'll talk more about it in a second, but we also got that rain coming for Oakwa up towards Camp Douglas at around midnight, later Sunday night. Isolated showers and maybe a couple of thunderstorms turning more into a line as that cold front stretches from Platteville to Mineral Point to Madison to Beaver Dam around 8 o'clock on Monday morning. It settles to the south, but we're going to have a ripple of energy right along the front that lifts the air along the front, producing a little bit more in the way of widespread shower and thunderstorm activity Monday evening going into Monday night, picking up a little bit decent amount of rainfall with this potential as well. And then that front settles way to the south here, ushering in cooler temperatures behind that cold front to where we should be for this time of year. Rainfall amounts, I think an inch might be a bit overdone. That would be nice to have a decent soaking rain in southern Wisconsin, but I think more optimistically, or realistically I should say here, about a quarter to maybe a half inch widespread across the rest of southern Wisconsin. Lows tonight are going to be in the 60s, if not near 70 degrees by the Wisconsin River. Remember, our normal high is 66 for this time of year, and we're going to do those upper 80s, a lot of 88s, 87 in Prairie du Chien, 87 in Monroe, and that record high temperature again tomorrow is 87, likely going to break that in Madison on Sunday. We'll be keeping a close eye on that too. We could shatter a 100-year record. Shattered a record today. We did 87 at the Madison airport. The old record was 85 in 2005. And here comes that fall-like stuff. By the time we head into the upcoming work week, we'll have our temperatures back into the mid-60s by the time we get to Tuesday, going on into Wednesday, and then Thursday going on into Friday. We'll have another weather system bringing us some showers, maybe a thunderstorm, and then the temperatures will climb back up to near 70 by the time we get to the end of the 10-day forecast.
I look forward to it. I see those pumpkins and they belong in October, but this
They can handle the heat.
Oh, whatever. I thought you liked the heat.
I love the heat. That's why I want to keep going.
I want my sweaters.
Well, and
You can wear sweaters.
No, but we're not when it's hot out.
All right, well, the youth out on the high school boys tonight, out on the gridiron, they had to deal with the heat regardless. It's a Friday night all across southern Wisconsin. That means only one thing. The final drive is next.
Welcome into week 7 of high school football. I'm Andrew Banstra, and this is the final drive. Let's get into it with our game of the week, where 5-1 Lodi looks to hand Darlington their first loss of the season. These pair of powerhouses have only played once in recent history. The Redbirds dominated the Blue Devils last year. Lodi's only loss this season was all the way back in week 1, and they're fresh off a win over Lake Mills. That was a big one. Scoreless in the first quarter, and the Redbirds on the the run. Darlington, they're going to wear you down with that ground game. Doing just that here, leading into their first score. When in doubt, give it to Ryder Fitzsimons. He signs his name on the first score of the game. And in the second, it's more Redbirds who have a couple of birds in that nest that take the ball and fly away. This time it's Dante Glendenning denning his way into the end zone, and he would stay there. Darlington does their job and stays undefeated, 38-0. And we head over to Nash Dara, who has our game of the night.
Thank you, Andrew. Tonight's game of the night took us to Lake Mills with the L-Cats taking on the Columbus Cardinals. The L-Cats look to turn the tides tonight as they have not beaten their divisional opponent since 2019, which has been a string of 5 straight losses. After 3 weeks on the road, Lake Mills looks to get back in the win column after a loss to the Lodi Blue Devils in a close one just last week. But tonight they took on a very good 5-1 Cardinals football team. Watch this first drive of the game. We get a fake handoff to Owen Cowell, and quarterback Peyton Powers takes it over 60 yards to the house for the first touchdown of the game. Later in the quarter, no fake here as Powers hands it to Bobby Tracy, who bulldozes his way into the end zone. The game would turn into a shootout, but the Cardinals of the Columbus would hold on to win 41-35 and keep that win streak against the L-Cats alive. Back to you, Andrew.
Man, Nash, 41-35, that lives up to the Game of the Night title. Last week, Verona had their 25-game Big 8 win streak snapped. The Wildcats just haven't had that same hiss this season, if you will, but had the chance to get a new streak started against Madison West tonight, a team who is fresh off winning the Madison Cup. But Andrew Riley's guys were riled up to get back into the win column. Third quarter, and the Wildcats were running wild. Jax Webking spindles the Regents and winds his way to a 30-yard touchdown run. Verona takes a 27-0 lead. West just caught the Wildcats on the wrong week here. Nothing was going to stop Verona this evening. They run it in for another score. This time it's Austin Perez perusing through the Regent defense, and Verona wins it 40-7. Heading over to Lake Mills, we're going to see that score on the bottom in Lakeside Lutheran. They lost to Mount Horeb 52-19. And how about that one up top? Sun Prairie West needing a win, and they get it 42-7. The final score at Bank of Sun Prairie Stadium. Don't look now, but Janesville Craig has put together quite the 2025 campaign. The Cougars look for their 5th win of the season tonight against Memorial, who picked up their 1st win of the season last week. And this evening, the Spartans would look to show they've still got life. They led 28-19 at the half and came out firing in the second. They'd punt on the first drive, or would they? Watch the fake punt, and it works. They move the sticks, and from there, Blake Adams would not be denied. The QB keeps it, and look at this ferocious run, fighting for every yard and eventually conceding to his halfback. A fake end around ends up in the end zone. AJ Danzo does the Cougars in as Memorial wins their 2nd straight. 50-19 the final score. Sun Prairie East got off to a bang this season, but have slowed down since, losing at Monona Grove last week. But for Wanakee, there's been no slowing down. It's been all gas, no brakes for the undefeated Warriors, and nothing seemed to change this evening. It was 31-0 at half, and Wanakee started up again right where they left off in the second. Giving the rock to Jack Solverson, that's all you need to do. He's off to the house for a 50-yard house call. Solverson slippery, sliding into the end zone, and if this wasn't the dagger, this right here was. The Warriors put another pair of points on the board. They blocked the kick, and off they go. Even if they don't put the points on the board there, they would get the job done and then some, as Wanakee goes on to win it 41-7, the final score. Looking at scores in other parts of the area, this is the time of year where you start to see some upsets, and unfortunately for New Glarus, that happened to them this evening, losing at the hands of Prairie du Chien 36-28. And how about Poynette? They win 37-6. That's their 5th win of the season. Well, man, what a season it's been for Monona Grove. The Silver Eagles have been soaring. Their only loss this year was to Waunakee at Waunakee by 1 point in overtime. Meanwhile, Oregon needs a win. The Panthers have lost 4 straight, looking for their first win over MG in a decade. And tonight, it just wasn't going to happen. The Silver Eagles stuck a 21-0 lead early on Oregon that the Panthers just could not overcome. They figured out the pass game late, did Oregon. Ethan Peggles pushing the ball, but it wouldn't result in points. Monona Grove improves to 6-1, blanking Oregon 21-0, the final score. It has been a while since we crossed paths with the Crusaders of Edgewood. So here's a reminder. They're off to a perfect 6-0 start and hosted Stoughton tonight, looking to reach 7 wins for the first time since 2011. But Stoughton wasn't going to let that happen, at least not without a fight. Pick things up in the second quarter. Edgewood leading by 2 scores, and Gannon Bagstead says paper or plastic. Nope, I'll just take a touchdown. Fires to Ben Morey, but his Crusaders, they wanted more. A few minutes later, Aiden Fickle, you may have heard of his dad. He's there alongside his teammate Henry Clark for the tackle. Edgewood gets the stop and sets up this. Cash Soma, he's the return man here on this punt, and he's going to hit the ATM and win the jackpot. The speedster stacking up the yards. He could go all the cha-ching. Edgewood scores the touchdown. It is Cash Soma for the score, and the Crusaders stay perfect on the season. What a year it's been for them. They go on to win it emphatically, 42-7. I've said it before, but picking games of the week is an imperfect science. Edgerton and Evansville had all of the qualifications to meet a game of the week. Evansville is undefeated, and they hosted Edgerton this evening in a Rock River rivalry. Evansville has gotten the better of this matchup in 5 straight meetings, but the Crimson Tide trying to prove the tide has turned, and this one was a thriller. In the first quarter, the Blue Devils' Matthew Wickersham, Evansville, they shellac up a deep ball, and it's picked off by Edgerton. Logan Hammer lays down the law on Evansville, but the Blue Devils get the ball back, and this time they get the job done. Lincoln Keller close to the goal line. He fumbles, but good for him. His teammate Adrian Wessels was in the right place at the right time, but that's burying the lead. How about Edgerton this evening? The Tide had the upset on their mind. Brady Buskiger chucks it up the field for Charlie Johnson, who eats the tackle and houses it. They hand Evansville their first loss of the season as the Tide take it. What a big-time win for Edgerton, 21-16. To some other scores, Sauk Prairie improves to 5-2 on the season. They beat Portage 31-14 in an incredibly pivotal and big-time game between Potosi Cassville and Seneca Wazeeka Steuben. PC takes it 33-27, the final score. What a fantastic week of high school football, but there's much more sports coming right around the corner. Wisconsin women's hockey returns home to unveil their championship banner, plus the highlights next in sports. Mark Johnson is the winningest coach in the history of collegiate women's hockey. And he'll tell you, you've got to celebrate the big wins. Wisconsin women's hockey unveiled their 8th national title banner tonight. Casey O'Brien, the reigning Patty Kazmaier National Player of the Year, back with the Badgers to celebrate. And check it out, folks. There it is. The banner unveiled, joining 7 of its best friends. And how about, speaking of best friends, the championship squad from last season. The Badgers hosting Maine this evening. Wisconsin's offense was slow to start, and it's a good thing they had Ava McNaughton between the pipes. The Black Bears kept firing shots at her, and she wasn't letting anything through. Later on, the Badgers, they found that gold mine, scoring 5 unanswered and blanking the Bears 5-0. And on the men's side, on the ice, Wisconsin men's hockey, they lost to Lindenwood twice last season, and those were absolute stunners that kind of stunk up the rest of the season for Wisconsin. But not this time around. The men win their season opener, 3-0, the final score. Brad Davison was all ready to start off his season in Spain. After all, the former Badger was still playing basketball professionally. But when Greg Gard, his former coach, called, Davison and his family packed their apartment and came straight to Madison. After, of course, the 5-year Badger star told his team that he was effectively retiring. Now, that wasn't easy, but coming to coach at his alma mater, that was a no-brainer.
He's always been mature. You know, I've always said he's one of the best leaders I've ever coached. And he was like that from day one. I think he understood and he learned as he came through his career that you have to lead in different ways based on the people in front of you you're trying to lead.
Being back in this gym, wearing the W, being in the coach's office, talking to the guys, and being back in the huddles, it means the world to me. So even if it means getting hit in the chest by Coach Crab or taking a charge in an example drill and diving on the floor without a warm-up, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, and I'm ready to do anything I can.
Wisconsin football hasn't seen their Big Ten foe, Michigan, since 2021, when the Wolverines in this game stopped into Camp Randall and had their way with the Badgers. Tomorrow, Bucky won't just be looking to avenge that loss. They'll be looking to turn their season around. The 2-2 Badgers are coming off a much-needed bye week and most recently suffered, if I need to remind you, I don't think I do, but I guess I kind of have to, that shocking loss at home to Maryland. The Badgers are desperate to get back into the win column, but they've got their hands full at the Big House tomorrow against the 20th ranked team in the country.
On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you practice, you feel like, hey, we're getting better. We're doing the things. They got the attitudes. The performance that we've had on Saturday the last couple of weeks has just not been that. And getting and taking that transition from what we've done all week and what they've done all week and what they prepared to do, and then being able to do it on Saturday is the kind of the hurdle right now that we're at.
But that's not the only big event going on Saturday when it comes to Wisconsin. Of course, we're going to mention that we're all getting ready for the I-94 rivalry on steroids. The Brewers and the Cubs meeting for the first time ever in the postseason. Freddie Peralta, of course, will get the ball for the Crew. We will be there with them, reporting to you back from Milwaukee, and we cannot wait. We also will be right back with a final look. That will do it for us this evening. For Nash Dara, I'm Andrew Banstra, and we'll see you tomorrow from Milwaukee with that Brewer game.